Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Las Vegas. My name is Reverend Laura Hallett, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our Wednesday evening service. Our Wednesday evenings are dedicated to taking a little bit of time to go deeper with the topics that are brought up in the themes for the month. Our themes are based on the Centers for Spiritual Living Global Themes for 2022, and this year's theme is Living Everyday Wonder. That also happens to be the theme for January. And this month we're looking at how we can approach life with a sense of awe and wonder and curiosity instead of coming from a sense of fear and judgment. Our book of the month is What's in the Way is the Way by Mary O'Malley. And so each week on Wednesday night we're taking a section of that book and looking at those topics that are brought up in it and exploring those ideas a little bit deeper. And then I'm offering a spiritual practice each week to help us cement that into our being and giving us some tools that will help us move through some of the challenges in life. So I'm really glad you're here with us for this Wednesday evening service. I'd like to start by thanking our wonderful team that puts this together. We have Madge Castle, our practitioner, who is sitting high watch for us. Madge is sitting at home in contemplation, holding truth and the highest good for the unfoldment of this service and everyone that this service touches. So thank you, Madge, for all of your service. I want to thank Justin Vogel, our music director, for all the phenomenal work that he does to give us some high-quality musicians and some wonderful music that supports our topics. And then, of course, we have Joe Blom, our media specialist, who puts this all together and brings it to you each week. We certainly would not be where we are without these wonderful volunteers, so thank you all for your service. So tonight we're looking at the 4 tools of awakening, some actual practical things that we can do to begin to have a deeper experience of what is actually happening within our own being. And like I said, these are based on the topics from Mary O'Malley's book, What's in the Way is the Way. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is how this idea of living everyday wonder, when we learn how to turn towards our experiences in life through wonder and curiosity, then we can actually begin to really affect some change. Some of the things that it does practically is it allows us to open up and access that spaciousness of our heart. If we come at it from fear and judgment, then there's automatically resistance to it. But if we can soften it ourselves a bit and ask some really deep questions and get to what is here for me to know and what is here for me to experience, then I think we can have a significantly different change. One of the other things that this coming at things for this idea of curiosity and wonder is that it actually lets us discover that we're really naturally okay. I don't know, I think many of us come into this world thinking that we are somehow flawed in some way. You know, in her book, Everyday Joy, Joko Beck talks about how we are born with this core belief that it actually hits us the moment that we are born, when we are taken out of this wonderful, safe, protective environment and thrust into this cold and loud and scary world. We believe that we've done something wrong. In What's in the Way is the Way, Mary O'Malley says that all of our belief systems are fully formed within us by the age of 6. The beliefs about how we interact with the world and how our relationship to the world and how our sense of self is all developed by the age of 6. And so these are some pretty young ages to be having such fundamental beliefs. And so it's natural for us to get a sense of I must have done something wrong for all of this to happen. You know, children are often first blame themselves. I was reading a study recently that said that by the age of 4, almost every child, no matter what their parents have told them, if their parents have divorced, by the age of 4, they believe that that's their fault. It doesn't matter what the parents say. It doesn't matter how many times they tell them that it's not their fault. They have internalized this belief that I did something wrong to make up mommy and daddy break up. And so, you know, we get these ideas. We see that something has happened to us and we have no or little limited intellectual capacity to actually understand the situation. And so we make up these stories to kind of figure it out. And generally the bad guy in the story is ourselves. We're the ones who are to blame for whatever ailments or ills or bad situations that we wind up in. When we are younger children, that's just our natural way of development. But if we begin to soften it and approach it from curiosity, then we can actually see that naturally we are okay. Right. The other thing that all of this does is it helps us release a lot of the pent-up energy, the bound-up energy that has been operating in us at a very subconscious level that has led to sometimes some destructive behaviors where we need an outlet for that. And so as we begin to learn to be curious and approach things in a different way that isn't fear-based or judgment, then we can open up a space within ourselves to release some of this stuff. As I talked about on the first Wednesday of January, there's meditations that we can do. We did the soft belly where we're letting that stuff bubble up and come out of us. We just soften our abdominal area to allow this spaciousness to happen, which allows the release of that kind of energy. We have within our being, we have internalized our functioning mind, and our mind actually operates on 3 different levels. We have that conscious mind, the one that's chattering, the one that Mary O'Malley calls the storyteller, the one that's constantly figuring out things and making up stories about them and trying to keep us safe and play and keep us in control. It runs from the fear. It runs from judgment. It is that part of us that is that probably we are most conscious of. It is that part that is at that upper level of our mind. If we think of our mind as in 3 layers, that upper level part of our mind is this conscious chattering thing that it never stops. Maybe when we go to sleep, and even then, I think maybe that's partly responsible for some of our dreams. But it's constantly there, and so it operates out of fear and it operates out of judgment, and it's totally focused on controlling life. Many of the psychologists and psychiatrists have called it the ego, and this ego has this idea that it's in charge, it's controlling things, it's likes things to stay the same, because when things are feeling the same, then you feel in control. It doesn't like change. It wants everything to stay nice in the little boxes that it's put it in. But we know in our lives that's sometimes very difficult. And so what happens is this upper level mind, this more conscious mind that is chattering constantly and trying to control things, then actually leads us to things like compulsions and addictions, things that will distract us from the situation at hand. And so we find these coping mechanisms of compulsive behaviors or addictive behaviors that we can use to apply to it so that we don't have to think about what's happening out there. We can just kind of push that aside because, as I said, this upper level mind, this controlling mind, doesn't really want to deal with anything that isn't perfectly in its box. And so, again, we wind up with these different kinds of behaviors that are not generally beneficial to us. And so that's all happening in this upper level of our mind, this storyteller part of our mind, this ego part of our mind. I said there's been many names for it, but it's the part we notice when we're sitting down to be quiet for meditation, or we're laying down to go to sleep and our mind starts racing. That's that mind. That's that part of the mind that is doing that. We also have a second level that's underneath of this level, and this is where all of our so-called unacceptable parts of ourselves exist. This is where we have buried things that we don't want to think about, things that have hurt us, times when we have felt guilt or when we have felt shame, when we felt that sense of being fatally flawed. That's buried underneath of that chattering mind. This usually forms when we were younger and more vulnerable, and it gives us a sense that we are not okay. Again, a lot of this happens when we're in early childhood, before we're the age of 6, when we're beginning to develop these beliefs, and then our mind is not developed enough to handle them, so we push them down, and they get stuck in there, and they're kind of trapped energy within our being. And then we have this next layer of the mind, this part of us that is our true self. This is the part of us with the capital S that is the true self. This is our mind that is actually where we connect with the divine, where we connect with the universal presence, where we connect with spirit, whatever we want to call it. That is the part that's operating here. It is the part that knows our mind is chattering. It is the part that hears it and can observe it. It is the part that knows there are these hidden beliefs within us. It is the part that has seen them, has watched us hide them, but knows that they're still there. And it is most evident when we are filled with joy. Mary O'Malley says that this self is the twinkle in your eye. It is that thing that is filled with vibrancy and buoyancy. It is that sense of being totally in flow with life, where we're just really grooving. It is the thing that happens when you're being very creative, when life is flowing through you. It is that thing that happens when you are so totally connected to another person that time stops. That's that sense, that higher self. And that's the one that we use our practices to have a greater experience of. That's the one that we want to expand the time that we spend with our higher self and less time with our chattering monkey mind self. And so these are the three layers of our mind that, as Mary O'Malley describes it. So we have, again, our chattering mind, our unhidden, stuffed down, wounded self, and then we have this, I love that twinkle in the eye self, this part that is wanting to be experienced more and more. So since we have all three parts of this, how do we actually begin to deal with this? How do we actually begin to work through these situations? Well, to work through the top layer, that the chattering mind thing, it's simply, as we spoke about last week, it's turning towards our curiosity. It's stopping ourselves in mid-sentence and asking some really powerful questions that will actually not seek an answer, but just actually open us up to something. And so that's how we deal with that. We open up in curiosity for that top layer. To deal with the middle layer, that layer, the wounded layer within ourselves, we have to open our heart space. And we have to open our heart space in compassion and non-judgmental awareness of what it is. Non-judgmental awareness, being accepting of what it is instead of trying to fix it. The top mind wants to fix it. It's the one that wants to control things or avoid things or shove things away or whatever else it wants to do with it. But if we begin to open up that heart space, open up that space for that energy that has been stored within those situations and those beliefs to dissipate, then that's how we can deal with those. So Mary O'Malley has 4 tools that she suggests that we use to help us move through these things. And so these, she calls them the 4 tools of awakening. So the first one is partnering with life intelligence. In other words, aligning ourselves with spirit, aligning ourselves with the truth of our being, aligning ourselves with the universal consciousness. And she says that when we do that, then from that place, we ask those questions. We ask questions about clarity. And we ask questions without looking for an answer. We ask questions like, what do I need to say or do or be in this situation for the highest good to unfold? What do I need to know here? Or what do I need to know right now? That's how we would work with that chattering mind. And then if we want to work with that hidden part of ourselves, those unconscious beliefs that are operating, we can ask the question, what need is asking to be met right now? What need do I need to have fulfilled within me? Or is there a way through this? Is there a way through this situation? When we begin to ask those clarifying questions, we come at the situation from a different point of view. We come at it from a place of compassion, come at it from a place of awareness and acceptance, If we come at it with that chattering mind, thinking it already knows the answer to this, then we're not leaving any space for spirit to work within our lives. And so we have to have that openness, that awareness of what's happening. The power of all of this is in asking the questions. It doesn't really even so much matter what the questions are, but asking the questions signals that we're ready to see what we used to resist. If we ask the questions, we are ready to see what we usually resist seeing. And so there's a huge power just in the willingness to ask the question. And coming at it from an unbiased and open-minded place will make all the difference in the world. So the second tool for awakening is cultivating curiosity. And I spent last week talking about the healing power of curiosity. Curiosity lets us step out of that chattering mind's point of view. It lets us relate to the situation rather than relating from it. We're relating to it rather than from it. So we're coming to it at a point of view where we are a witness of it rather than a victim in it. It's a big difference there. It gives us a broader perspective about what is actually happening here. And again, there are so many wonderful questions we can ask from that place of curiosity. You know, what is here for me to know? Or what do I know right now? And these kind of questions will actually begin to open us up. Again, there's not an answer already established there. This is something that we're opening ourselves up to the revelation of it. The third thing that she has asked us to do, the third tool of awakening, is to change our relationship with discomfort. How many of us resist being uncomfortable? How many of us run from anything that is an awkward situation? How many of us don't want to have to deal with it, any pain or stress or strife in our lives? We have a tendency as a society to run from things that make us uncomfortable. But when we can begin to move towards it instead of resisting it, then things begin to shift in our lives. What happens is we begin to make things workable and doable, and we're able to overcome them rather than allowing them to take us over. So when we approach things by not pushing the discomfort away, by working through it, in other words, the way through is the way in. What's in the way is in the. No, I got a title all mixed up. What is the way is in the way. So when we work through it, when we move through the challenges in our lives, instead of avoiding them and running from them, then things really begin to shift quite a bit in our lives. It's really amazing to watch this happen. I know I've experienced it in many of my things. It's like if I'm in a discomfort, even if I'm in pain, physical pain, and I can ask myself, what is the nature of this? What is this pain about for me? What is this telling me? And just listen quietly for the answer. And generally something will come through that is clarifying for me. When we move towards discomfort, instead of resisting it, when we develop this relationship with discomfort, we learn to recognize it quicker and we learn to soften to it. In her book, she talks about the tightening. When we feel a discomfort, we often feel it in our bodies, and something in our body tightens up. And when we begin to recognize that tightening, then we can actually apply some of our spiritual practices to it a little sooner and allow it to release and soften within our experience. Often the pain dissipates from that just by giving a little focused attention to it. I often go to a massage therapist, and she does this interesting thing where she's just putting pressure on different parts of my body. It's like a part will hurt, and instead of not messing with that part again, she actually goes back and gives it the attention that it needs by putting a gentle pressure on it that allows that spot to soften in my body, so I can have a stiff muscle in my shoulder, and just by applying a little tiny bit of pressure to it, then it actually allows the muscles to soften in there. And that happens throughout our whole being, and we can do it. We can learn to do it ourselves. And when we do all of this, we can release the energy of whatever that discomfort is. And again, that allows us to have a greater spaciousness within ourselves. And the fourth tool of awakening that she says is accessing the power of our heart. So when we are more curious and we ask for clarity, our heart will open. Our heart will actually open up when we open up in curiosity and asking for clarity. It allows us to give those unhealed parts of us space to move through us. As I said with the soft belly meditation, it was about open heart, soft heart, merciful heart, allowing the heart to open and creating a bigger space within ourselves where that problem can dissipate itself within there. This allows for plenty of acceptance, and not just regular acceptance, but compassionate acceptance. Acceptance that comes at it from a place of gentleness and softness, and a place of wanting to be a beneficial presence within our being instead of something that we are resistant to. And so we can develop this compassionate attention that will allow this to soften more rapidly within us. And finally, it allows a place for all parts of us to be fully seen, heard, and accepted without the need to change them. Allowing them to dissipate is not about trying to fix them. It's not about trying to make it work in some kind of box, stick in some kind of box that our ego-controlling mind is thinking it needs to be in. Recognizing them, giving them awareness, and allowing them to be seen and heard, and then released. It's a great tool that we can begin to do. You know, there's a Rumi poem that I just love, and Mary O'Malley quoted in there reminded me of that. And it's called The Guest House. She says, this is how it goes. The guest house. Welcoming difficulty. Learn the alchemy true human beings know. The moment you accept what troubles you've been given, a door opens. This is true alchemy. This is changing one thing into another thing. This is changing what we've considered most of our lives to be a problem into something that is more spacious, more compassionate, more of a place of ease within our being instead of a place of tightness and turmoil. I think our lives are all about finding that alchemy that transforms it. And doing the spiritual practices that we do is one of those sure ways of getting to that place of transformation. And these spiritual practices can be really powerful. So let's go through one right now. This is a modified one from Mary O'Malley's book about actually asking some questions, you know, tapping into our bodies, into a place in consciousness where these things have been stored, and seeing if we can release some of them. So I just invite you to get yourself comfortable, however that works. I generally like to close my eyes, but if that doesn't work for you, that's okay too. Just take in a couple of nice, deep, cleansing breaths. And just bring your awareness to your heart center. That might not necessarily be a location on your body, but it is a place from which your higher self is operating. I tend to think of my heart center as just below my sternum, right at the top of my abdomen. It seems to be the center of my whole heart space there. And as you rest in your heart space, I want you to ask yourself quietly in your own mind, what is asking to be seen? What is asking to be seen? If you find your mind wandering, just come back to the question. What is asking to be seen? Now, if you notice a feeling or a sensation, or maybe an old story coming to your mind, just take a moment and explore it with that compassionate awareness, that accepting attention. And just say to whatever you're noticing, I see you. It's okay that you are here. I want to know more about you. Just take a few moments and sit with that sensation or feeling or story. I see you. It's okay that you are here. I want to know more. These parts may be ready to share, or maybe not, but don't try to force it. Just let it all come naturally and let it flow at its own pace. And if nothing happens in this moment, know that it has heard your willingness to listen, and it will share with you when it's ready. Again, if you find your mind wandering, simply ask, what is wanting to be seen? And acknowledge it when it comes to your awareness. Each part of our mind is wanting to be seen and heard. It's a natural way of being. Remember to approach them with compassionate acceptance and awareness. Give these parts the space to be heard, the space to be seen, without fear of them, without judging them as good or bad. Just compassion and acceptance. So let's take this into one of our other spiritual practices, our form of affirmative prayer. We call this spiritual mind treatment. It is a 5-step prayer that acknowledges the presence, aligns ourselves with it, knows truth, gives thanks, and then lets it all go. So I invite you to turn within with me now And how good it is to just take a moment to become still. For in this stillness I sense and feel the presence of the divine. It is the allness and the fullness of that creative love intelligence that has brought forth everything into existence. It is that one mind, that one power, that one presence, that one eternal loving spirit, the creator of all. Because I know that there is only this one. I know that I am one with it. I know that the power and the presence of the divine is moving through me into manifestation in all that I am and all that I do. This is the truth of my being. Therefore, I know it is the truth of all life. I know that each one of us was created perfectly, uniquely, individually, to be that divine loving presence of the One. And so in this realization, I just simply speak my word. I know that all life exists in an eternal now, an eternal perfection, an eternal wholeness. I know that we inhabit physical form with all of its interesting qualities and behaviors. And that as part of our physical form, we have a place that is intimately connected to the divine. And it is from that place that we strive to operate. That higher self, that Christ consciousness, that universal love intelligence. That is the truth of who we are. And when we begin to spend more time in this sense of oneness and universal self, then we allow a greater space for all things to be revealed, for all things that are necessary for our unfoldment are already within us, just waiting for the chance to be seen and heard, to be acknowledged and to be accepted. The magnificence of who we are was instilled in us in the beginning, and it's just waiting for our conscious awareness of it. And I know that through dedicated practice, through study, through exploring principles, through willingness and openness, all things are revealed. You simply give thanks for this knowing. I'm so grateful to see this power and presence moving through life. I'm so grateful to see it in action all around me. And I just simply release this word. Knowing it is complete, I let it be. And so it is. Amen.
Here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
higher, look deeper. When you know it's the end and pain's your only friend, look up, look higher, look deeper. One more try, one more day, one more move to a better day. Close your eyes one more time. Say the words and you will fly. When frustration sets in and you cannot see the end, look up, look higher, look deeper. When you wanna run and shout, but you know you can't reach out, look up, look higher, look deeper. One more try, one more day, one more move to a better day. Close your eyes one more time. Say the words and you will fly. You'll fly. I'm no longer in pain. I'm whole again. I'm up, I'm higher, I'm deeper. No more pain. I'm whole once again. I'm up, I'm higher, I'm deeper. No more pain. I'm whole once again. I'm up, I'm higher, I'm deeper. I am love, I am peace. I'm up, I'm higher, I'm deeper. I'm up, I'm higher, I'm deeper. I'm up, I'm higher.
The monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with Spiritual Soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSL GLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSL GLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.